Hello and welcome to Shapiro Industries. Today we're going to be making a bow and arrow. What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, then welcome to my channel. My name is David Shapiro, this is Shapiro Industries, where we build amazing things through engineering, art, and all that good stuff. So, as you saw, today we're going to be building a bow and arrow. Now, I do have to say, if you're going to try this at home, do it with caution, because this is some serious stuff, you know. This is a weapon, so just be careful and use parental supervision. So, the reason why I'm making a bow and arrow is because, as you know, the Taskmaster project is coming up, and I figured, since Taskmaster has a bow and arrow, the best way to understand how to construct his collapsible bow and arrow is to figure out how to construct just a normal bow and arrow. Now this is going really like basics, like as cheap as it could possibly be, so let's get into the build. So the materials that you'll need is a piece of PVC pipe. Now this really doesn't matter what kind of pipe. I had the orange stuff on hand, which is a slightly thinner pipe. And I don't know what the different purposes of different types of PVC pipe are, but this worked for me. I'm sure the white PVC pipe would work just as well in pretty much any other type. Just try to keep it to like 1 inch diameter or 3/4 inch diameter, because anything bigger than that and you won't be able to really grip it properly. Now I originally bought these like roadside fiberglass markers to make the bow stronger, but I did not end up using them. The PVC pipe on its own was strong enough, so you can, if you notice that your PVC pipe on its own is not that strong of a bow, but for me, first starting out, it was perfectly good. You'll also need some paracord. Now, you might be able to use like just normal rope that you get like the 99-cent store. I'm not sure. I used paracord, and it seemed to work really well. The most important part of it is just knowing that you could tie the knot at the right length for your bow and arrow. The tools you'll need is some sandpaper, a file, a measuring tape, and then for the arrow, some wooden dowels. I just found these laying around, and I'm going to use these for my arrows, and some duct tape, and I also use my Dremel to cut in the back notch that the string sits in, but you could pretty much use anything. I'm sure a hacksaw would work, or a craft knife if you're really careful with it and consistent at carving away at it. So I don't entirely remember the length of mine. I think it was around like 53 or 55 inches of PVC pipe, and really the length is just going to depend on how big you are. I'm 6'1", so I kind of wanted a big bow and arrow to at least start off with. We're going to file these notches into the top, and this is where the bowstring is going to sit on the bow. That way your bow doesn't come apart. So you're going to file across first, and then you're going to slowly carve down to kind of make like a frowny face on each end. And make sure that both sides are lined up, otherwise your bow is going to be a little bit wonky. So once we have that all filed away, you're just going to test it out and see how your bowstring fits in it. If it doesn't sit super well, you can go back and file it down. Just make sure not to file all the way through, because that will weaken your bow. Now, stringing up your bow can be slightly difficult. I'll put a link down below to someone else who built a PVC bow and explains it better than I do. Basically, what you want to do is kind of like hook the bottom bow around the loop, and then lean into the bow and hook the top part. And that seems to give the best result without it possibly snapping. I mean, I have not had or heard of anything where a PVC pipe can snap, but just as a precaution. And for the arrow construction, for those like little feather things on the back, we're just going to be using duct tape. So apply your duct tape to it and then cut it so that it's all nice and uniform. And then what you're going to do is wrap a piece of duct tape around the top so that those pieces do not come off so easily, and it'll also make the arrow slightly more aerodynamic. Now, I was going to put a tip on this arrow, and it was originally going to be made out of metal, but I decided, you know what, this is my first build, best not to go with metal, I'll make it out of foam. So this was the process that I used to make the arrowhead out of foam. And then within like the first couple shots of me taking it, it broke. So I ended up just shooting my arrow without a tip. It was just kind of like the wooden dowel, and that honestly seemed to work pretty well. Anytime it would hit something, you know, it didn't really matter because it was just the wooden piece. So enough of me talking. Let me show you guys how this bow and arrow perform right now. As you can see, the bow and arrow performed extremely well, honestly better than I thought it would be. And yes, even though we are shooting into like cardboard boxes and foam mats, it's still a pretty powerful bow for stuff that you could just find at like Home Depot. And honestly, the stuff isn't super expensive. I would say maybe like 10 to 15 bucks depending on where you are. Honestly, the Paracord is like the most expensive thing, and you only use like a couple feet of it, and they come usually in like 25, 50 foot bundles. So now I was kind of shocked when I was able to shoot through the wooden door. I was not expecting that, so that just goes to show you that these things are not toys. These are powerful weapons, and do not build any of this without parental supervision. That's it for today's video. Please check out my other channel. It's under David Shapiro. I'll link it in the description below. It's my fitness channel, how I go about certain challenges. I'm working on one currently where I eat chicken and broccoli for an entire week for every meal, so stay tuned for that one, and please go subscribe to that other channel as well. That's it for today's video, and I will see you guys in the next one.